Hi everyone, today we're going to cover Unit CHC ECE 017. Now, I'm going to stress to you that it's super important that you use your textbooks for this assignment, okay? This assignment also has a section in your placement book, so it's very important that you have a strong, sound knowledge of the development of children, okay, especially the holistic development, okay? Now, the textbooks that I recommend for you to use is Birth to Big School, the first few chapters, and also the Early Years Framework textbook. So there's actually 4 textbooks for the diploma. If you don't have the 4 textbooks, please contact enrollments team by emailing va1@apex.edu.au. Also, to make sure that you're part of our Apex Childcare Facebook group, please join us, and then you can contact me there or emailing me if you have any questions. And if after you've watched this video, if you're still unsure and you need support for this assignment, please book a one-on-one Zoom call with me by emailing admin@apex.edu.au. Okay, let's get started. So you definitely have to have an understanding of human development and theories to pass this. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm not going to focus a lot on the simple short questions. All of this is in your textbook, by the way, and it's also in your PowerPoint presentation. You need to read and understand. Make sure you are referencing your assignments, by the way, guys. Every question that you don't know must be referenced. Unless it's in the easiest way with referencing is unless it's not in your own words where it's not about yourself, it must be referenced, okay? So, all these short answer questions I'm going to leave. They are all in your textbooks and PowerPoint, all that information. I'm just going to touch base on the hard ones. Now, I noticed that there's an error in this question here, 11. It says, read the learning outcome indicator for the early years framework. List below some suggestions, okay? So, first, foremost, you need to understand what pedagogy practices means. It's in your textbook, it's in your PowerPoint, Google it, read it, research, know what it means, okay? You can't answer this question correctly until you know what pedagogy practices means. I want you to put some examples here. Okay, but please note up the top, see how it's got toddler group, 18 to 2 years of age, okay? Now, this is actually meant to be 2 to 3 years. This is a typo. I have asked them to fix it, but it's still not fixed. So 2 to 3 years, give examples, okay? This is meant to be 3 to 6 or 3 to 5. It doesn't really matter, okay? So that'll help you with that one because it doubles up the same, okay? Hold on. This could be like kindy group and then your preschooler, okay? Case study area here. Okay, you can do this. Now, again, this information's all in your textbook. Now, you're meant to look at the pictures, okay? Now, if you really research and read your textbook and all the information, you'll have a strong understanding of what motor skills are and what motor skills she's using in this picture. So you should be able to probably answer this yourself as well, by the way. Same with all of these case studies here. These are very forward. Now, please, when you're doing these case studies, please refer it back to the actual children. I don't want to see, and I will fail use, I don't want to see it cut and paste off Google because I just clearly know you have no understanding on what you're talking about. You should by now in these case studies for this assignment, if you've read all the things that you're meant to do, you can basically go look at the picture and like answer the question, go, oh yeah, I know exactly what motor skills Daniel is doing. Now, please remember, being a diploma student, you have to have this knowledge, and it, like you're only cheating yourself if you just go to Google or try and get your answers off somewhere or off a friend or something like that, because as an educator, you have to know what development skills are. You will struggle so much in your working careers, and especially in your placement, if you don't understand what any of these things mean. Okay, it'll fall back onto you later. So yeah, please make sure you read and link it to the children's you know, and the case studies. Yeah, so these are all forward. Same with case study 6, 7. These are all pretty much the same. Okay, now research activity 3, Vygotsky. Now, you are all probably saying, what is Vygotsky? Is that a person? Is that a thing? Is it a place? What is it? Vygotsky, Lev Vygotsky, he is the most used child development theorist. His theories are pretty spot on. He has played a huge role in child development. And you will hear him all the time when you start working in a childcare centre. Okay, they link a lot back to Vygotsky's theory. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to play a short little video, because you must have an understanding on who Vygotsky is. Okay, now Vygotsky has quite a few theories. Okay, so I'm going to play you a video on Vygotsky, and then I'm going to play you a video on his what is called cognitive development. Now you're all probably thinking, yeah, what? You must know what cognitive development is. What are the 5 main milestone development areas? Okay, children in childcare centres, you have to plan for cognitive development daily. Okay, so you've got to know what it means. Okay, so I'm just going to play this little video for you all. Sorry, my video isn't working. Try it again.
If you manage a team, you try Monday.com. Monday.com is a platform to track everything your team.
Vygotsky argued that learning impacts development. With early math, for instance, learning skills can hasten development. Rather than viewing this early counting as just rote reciting, Vygotsky would argue that it nudges a child towards a concept of the symbolic nature of number. Children construct knowledge. Learning can lead development. Development cannot be separated from its social context. Language plays a central role in mental development. Vygotsky envisioned a more complex relationship between development and learning than either the young Piaget or the elderly Pavlov had conceived. As we will see, Vygotsky gave great value to assisting children to use strategies to further their intellectual capacities.
The next time we count them, I'm going to help you.
Okay.
Put your finger out and we'll count each one.
1,
1, 2,
2,
help you point.
1, 2, 3, 4.
It is in this context that we will discuss the best known part of Vygotsky's work, the zone of proximal development.
Point to each one close to the bear and count loudly.
1, 2, 3.
But when the teacher structures the activity differently, the same child can perform at a higher level, counting meaningfully to 17 without missing any bears.
15, 16, 17.
Great job, Quentin.
The area between the level of independent performance and the level of assisted performance is the zone of proximal development. It is here where the teacher must focus attention.
Lev Vygotsky was born about 100 years ago in 1896 in Tsarist Russia. As Jews, the Vygotsky family, however prosperous, were outsiders in Russia under Tsar Nicholas, limits on how many could be formally educated. The odds were great, but miraculously, Vygotsky gained a place. He also became interested in psychology and began doing research in this field. He also managed to write 7 books and dozens of articles before dying at age 37 in 1934.
For Vygotsky, the social context influences more than just attitudes and beliefs. It has a profound influence on how we think as well as what we think. Vygotsky and his colleagues witnessed the rapid social changes in the Soviet Union that occurred when non-technical cultures did to participate in the quite technically advanced Western culture of the new empire. Vygotsky's work reminds us of the processes necessary for children to regulate their own internal and external behavior. Encouraging children to draw what they are experiencing, to talk to each other about it, to write about it, and even to talk to themselves about it, enables them to move towards being independent learners.
Good job, Alex.
Okay, so that's a brief understanding on who Vygotsky is, why he's so important. You will study his theories quite a lot, but what we're actually going to have a look at is the cognitive development, okay? Super, super important. I have some videos on the resource page about that, but you really need to understand his cognitive theory. Now, cognitive is brain development thinking, putting processes together, okay? So it's how children think and how things are put together. For example, when a child builds blocks together, they're thinking about the process of how it connects, how it builds, how it works. That's cognitive development. It's like a puzzle, putting a puzzle piece. Cognitive development, they have to think, you know, how does things go? How does this work? What does it do? Okay. So that is, there's a few child development theorists that have the thing on cognitive development, but Vygotsky is one of the main people, okay? He also talks about scaffolding and things like that, which is also linked. So I'm just going to play you this little video here.
Hello friends, आज हम इस वीडियो में
No, that is not the right one. Sorry guys. Where is it? Social contraction. Sorry, I usually use one and now I can't find it. I don't have my USB. I'll just put this one here.
If you're running an e-commerce business, you have to check out Aribi. It's the analytics tool that took our hard-earned traffic and turned it into
The theory of social development argues that community and language play a central part in learning. While Jean Piaget concluded that children's cognitive development happens in stages, Vygotsky rejected his ideas and believed that children develop independently of specific stages as the result of social interactions. Vygotsky claimed that we are born with 4 elementary mental functions: attention, sensation, perception, and memory. It is our social and cultural environment that allows us to use these elementary skills to develop and finally gain higher mental functions. This development ideally happens in the zone of proximal development. First, there is what we can do on our own. Then, there is the zone of proximal development, which represents what we can do with the help of an adult, a friend, technology, or what Vygotsky called the more knowledgeable other. Last, there is what's beyond our reach. To illustrate this, let us think of twins who were raised in a community in which boys are expected to learn and succeed, while girls are only expected to be pretty. At the age of 10 months, both have the ability to crawl and are in the zone of proximal development for learning how to stand on their feet. The more knowledgeable other, in this case the father, provides the boy with opportunities to practice in a playroom that he has equipped with scaffolding and other objects. The boy is encouraged to explore the equipment, and eventually he uses it to pull himself up. A few hours later, he's cruising along the structures, and a few days later, he's standing on his feet. The girl also has the potential to stand, but does not receive any support in learning the skill. When we compare the two, we see that while the girl is still trying to get up, the boy has moved into a new zone. He knows how to balance while standing, and now has the potential to learn how to walk. Both will eventually learn how to walk, but according to Vygotsky, the boy will be more skilled. The same principles apply to all learning and the development of higher cognitive functions, and only those learning with the assistance of a capable mentor can reach the full potential of their ability. Vygotsky therefore believed that inside the zone of proximal development, learning can precede development, which means that a child is able to learn skills that go beyond their natural maturity. He also established an explicit connection between speech and mental concepts, arguing that inner speech develops from external speech via a gradual process of internalization. This means that thought itself develops as a result of conversation. Therefore, younger children who don't finish this process can only think out loud. Once the process is complete, inner speech and spoken language become independent. Lev Vygotsky died of tuberculosis in 1934, at the age of 37. Despite his young age, he became one of the most influential psychologists of the 20th century. He left the following advice for educators. By giving students practice in talking with others, we give them frames for thinking on their own. What do you think? Can a child learn anything regardless of any developmental prerequisites? And do we learn only through social and cultural contexts? And if so, do you think it is appropriate for a more knowledgeable other to determine what a child should learn next? Share your thoughts in the comments below.
Okay, so that gives you a little bit of an understanding. Okay, so you need to research, and I would want a good 2 paragraphs of what are the main principles of Vygotsky's theory on cognitive development. Make sure you definitely reference this, okay? The next one is zone of proximal development, again, in your own words. So that means you need to read interpret the information, and you will still need to reference this, okay? Again, I want 2 good paragraphs of this. I have information in the PowerPoint as well. It's also throughout your textbooks, okay? Now, the next series that we're looking at is Piaget, and I will play a little video on that. This is another theorist. Now, Vygotsky didn't believe in his theory, by the way. They have 2 different views on cognitive development, so make sure you don't get confused, okay? I see a lot of students put Vygotsky's, Piaget's theory and Vygotsky's and things like that, so make sure you have the correct information, okay?
Hello everyone, and welcome to Mr. Simplifies Tutorials. In this video, we're going to look at Piaget's theory of cognitive development. It is a very important step in understanding child psychology because it explains how a child constructs a mental model of the world he or she is living in. Why is there a need for Piaget's theory? Why was there a need for Piaget's theory back in 1936? There was a need because children were actually looked at as they were miniature version of adults, and therefore it was difficult to understand how a child actually looked at the world around him or her. Piaget's theory emphasized that children don't actually start learning and perceiving things as adults. They aren't actually smaller version of adults, and they go through 4 specific stages of mental development and gradually develop mental abilities and eventually start looking at the world around us in the same way as adults do. So let's take a look at the stages of cognitive development. It's important to note that these stages here are arranged in the form of an arrow. It could very easily have been arranged as stairs or steps, because there's no concrete way of arranging these 4 stages. They just happen one after the other, as is evident from the picture. So the first stage that a child goes through is sensory motor, which happens between 0 to 2 years. And then there's the pre-operational stage, which happens between 2 to 7 years. And then there is a concrete operational stage, which happens between 7 and 11 years. And then there is a formal operational stage, which happens after year 12. So let's look at these stages one after the other. The first stage is the sensory motor stage, which happens between 0 and 2 years. So a good way of remembering this stage is firstly picture a child of 0 to 2 years in your mind and understand that the child would actually look at things just with the view of holding them, just looking at them and putting them in their mouth. That's what children do. And these are basically motor senses, which are sight, sound, touch, smell, taste, etc. Basic motor senses. And that's all the child actually realizes to use at this stage. So sensory refers to motor senses, and this is the stage where all of the sensory motor skills, senses are used by the child to explore the world around him or her. So children in this stage realize that they are different to the inanimate objects around them, gradually, of course, not when a child is a few months old, but gradually in this stage, they realize that they are actually different. They have an individual existence. They start learning. This is very important. They start learning that things can exist even if they don't see them, which is called object permanence. This is a very important concept because this is one of the most important developments that happen in this stage. Object permanence basically refers to the notion that an object will still exist if it's not present in front of their eyes. For instance, if it's a very young child who requires a certain type of ball, and if it's taken away from him and put away in a place where he or she can't see it, then he or she would think that the object no longer exists, but gradually as the child progresses along in this stage, he or she realizes that the object still exists, but it's just away from.
There's a pattern to genius. There's a method behind the magic. I always tell people my inspiration was my desperation, and I don't do it.
From his eyesight, from his field of vision. So that is called object permanence, and that is developed in this stage. They also learn to start experimenting with trial and error to get attention. So this is something that anyone who has experienced life living with a toddler would understand, that they start experimenting, they start analyzing, observing patterns wherein their demands are met once a certain behavioral pattern is followed. So they would continue following these behavior patterns to get their demands met at this stage. Piaget actually divided this stage into various substages, which actually explain the same thing in greater detail. So we're not going to go into those substages of this video. We're going to move on to the next stage, which is the pre-operational stage, which is from 2 to 7 years. The hallmark, the primary development in this stage is language. Children now also start using words and pictures to represent objects. For instance, they understand that dressing up as a doctor, they can see the world as a doctor. So they understand role play. They understand that certain pictures and words can actually represent objects. Children start to think about themselves more, and basically at some point think about themselves as being the center of the universe, which Piaget coined a word for called egocentric. So Piaget believed that children at this stage become very egocentric, and they rarely understand things from another person's point of view. For instance, a good example is if a child is watching TV with you, he or she would stand right in front of you at times and watch the TV and would not understand that he or she is actually blocking your view of the television. So long as the child can see it, they believe that it's visible for absolutely everybody. So that is just a one view of the world, and that's their own at this stage. So moving on to the next stage, which is called concrete operational, which goes on from 7 to 11 years. The main aspect of this stage is the development of logical reasoning. So through the course of this stage, logical reasoning is developed in the minds of the child. Instead of being egocentric, they are now sociocentric, wherein they actually observe other people's viewpoints and actually understand most of them and the differences between their viewpoints and the viewpoints of others. Another important concept here is conservation. So basically, if a child in the pre-operational stage gets an object broken into several pieces, like a piece of candy, he or she wouldn't understand that some of these pieces would actually still be the same candy. In this age, however, the child understands that if a candy is broken into multiple pieces, all of the pieces together would be the same candy. That's conservation. Reversibility is another interesting concept understood in this, learned in this stage. And it refers to the understanding that many objects can be changed and returned to their original conditions. As an example, we can consider an inflatable ball. When an inflatable ball is deflated, a child in this stage would understand that the ball can be inflated again and it will still be the same ball. It's not a different object anymore. It's still the same object. Moving on to the next stage, which is the formal operational stage. This occurs beyond 12 years of age. Now, at this stage, abstract thought and hypothetical thinking emerges in the young adult, as we would say. can't refer to a 12-year-old as a child, I suppose. What does abstract thought and hypothetical meaning mean? What does it refer to? For instance, if a child in the concrete operational stage is asked to, just as in a hypothetical sense, is asked that if you have a third eye, where would you actually place it? More often than not, a child in the concrete operational stage would actually say that he or she would like to place the third eye right in between the two eyes. Perhaps that's because it's easy and it just looks cool. But in a formal operational stage, a child is more likely to actually place the third eye in a place where it actually serves a purpose. For instance, at the back of the neck, because it would actually give you extra vision at the back, or on one of your hands, so that you can reach out to corners and actually see things. So these are the differences in approaches that young adults have as opposed to a child in a concrete operational or pre-operational stage. At this stage, young adults start thinking about eventual consequences of their actions. So they realize that their actions can have far-reaching consequences at this stage. They also develop problem-solving skills without trial and error. For instance, if you ask a child in the concrete or the pre-operational stage, I would say concrete operational, because this experiment is probably too advanced for the pre-operational stage anyway. So if you ask a child in a concrete operational stage to balance a set of weights, a bar with a couple of weights on each side, and several other weights to pile on, to balance it, the child wouldn't understand, unless they use trial and error, how to actually balance the barbell. There are several aspects ranging from actually arranging the same amount of weight both sides and actually holding the bar right at the center. And the whole process is not understandable for a child during the concrete operational stage. But in the formal operational stage, without a trial and error procedure, a young adult is able to actually understand this sort of a problem-solving equation or a situation, and is actually able to use his mental powers, his or her mental powers, to actually solve a problem of this type. And various other mental operations can actually be performed without needing physical assists. Like mathematical problems, the level of mathematical problems that a young adult can solve at this stage is very much more enhanced as opposed to the concrete operational stage. So, a very popular theory, Piaget's theory of cognitive development, laid a foundation in various ways, but there are various criticisms to it. Firstly, children often acquire these skills a lot sooner than Piaget actually concluded in his theory. It is observed by various people, various groups, after a lot of studies being conducted, that a lot of children actually tend to develop various skills at different time periods, and it's not as concrete, it's not as specific as Piaget tended to believe. And also another very important criticism for the theory of cognitive development is that it doesn't take any external factors and circumstances into consideration. For instance, a child belonging to a lower section of the society, a poorer section of the society, will definitely not have the level of exposure that a wealthy child would have, for instance. So the learning would be completely different in both of these situations, and such an external but very important circumstance is not taken into consideration by Piaget. And also, one of the things that Piaget really focused on was how ecocentric children are in the pre-operational stage, that is between 2 and 7 years, which is not actually the case. It is highly debated that children at the pre-operational stage are not half as egocentric as Piaget tended to believe. They are still capable of understanding other people's point of view and are still a lot more developed or a lot more sophisticated than Piaget believed. Okay, that was a good brief overview of Piaget's theory of cognitive development, a very important milestone in terms of understanding child psychology. I hope that outline was important for you, useful for you, and I thank you very much for your attendance. And I urge all of my subscribers.
Okay, so now you understand the theory of that, okay? So now we're going to look at, sorry guys. So that's your research activity there. Again, all this information's in your textbook. There's stuff on the PowerPoint, but I want to see 2 good paragraph lengths of information. Again, don't forget to reference. The next one is, what does Piaget mean in the terms of scheme? Again, in your resources and information, you have all of that in there, okay? Again, don't forget to reference. Okay, now this is the big task for Unit 17, and the reason why I spent time going over these theories and why you need to know these is because it's in here, okay? So what you have to do is you have to draw, that's right, draw yourself. Don't use a thing on the internet because you will miss the points. There's certain key points that you need. Please draw it yourself. Just use a blank piece of paper and upload it to your assignment. Remember, you can upload up to 17 documents in your assignment. So you've got a lot to, you know, play around with. So you just upload it like you would upload your assignment, okay? So you need to design a layout on A4 pieces of paper on what your classroom should be like, okay? Now, and again, in your textbook, they have a classroom layout that you can have a look at and you'll see all that information in there, okay? So if you don't know what a childcare classroom looks like, please go on Google and see what, you know, an everyday childcare setting looks like. And again, like I said, it is in the textbook, so you can see, okay, what I'm talking about. Now, what you need to do is you need to have an understanding of all the areas of development. So physical, social, cognitive, emotional, and language. Before you even start drawing your area, please make sure you know these. Read your textbooks. It's all in there, guys. In the first 3 or 4 chapters, I think it's Birth to Big School. Oh, no, I can't remember. But every unit goes over all of these areas, okay? Make sure you have a sound knowledge because, like I said, you need this for placement. You need to understand this for your daily teaching practices when you get a job in childcare. I cannot stress this enough, and especially for your work placement for diploma. You will struggle with your observations if you don't know these areas of development. It's like driving a car without a license. You need a license to drive a car. You need to know these areas of development to work your job, okay? So spend the time researching, learning. It's in the PowerPoint. It's all in the textbooks. Read, please. I beg you, read, okay? Now, when you design your layout, you have to have the following: paths, boundaries, storage, display, furniture. You have to have open-ended and natural materials. Childcare centres like natural materials, and what I mean by natural materials is don't have plastic toys, have wooden baskets, you know, wooden blocks. Try and make it more, you know, natural resources that will be considered for the space. Areas that encourage self-help skills and independence for children. Now, remember the age group is 2 to 4 years, 0 to 24 months. It's for a toddler's room, okay? So make sure you are planning for that age group. Don't have it too advanced, okay? Self-help skills for that age group, you know, you could have like a thing where they can start to hold a cup. Like you could have things like that. You could have face cloths where they can start washing their hands properly without being assisted. There's so many little things that you can have. It's not funny, okay? So again, a lot of this is in your textbook. If you read it, you will have a, you know, clear understanding on all of these areas, okay? Now, in your design, so you've got to draw your design, okay? So you do a layout. Now, how to do your design, I will show you, I don't want you to use these, but I'm just going to show you a little example. I'm going to go childcare layout. You can just do like little blocks and stuff like that, like a floor plan. That might be easier. I'm not a very good drawer myself, okay? So like, you know, you could just, you don't have to be technical with all the furniture, but see how they got like the little boxes, like you can write in there like a table. We could have like, this could be your mat area and you just write mat area. You don't have to draw the chair or anything like that. I mean, this is probably a really good example. See how they've got like the little, but name all the areas. That's just got infants and things. Like you might have a square going off here and you might have a home corner. You might have a circle over here and it's block corner. Just make sure, you know, you label. I'm trying to find a really good one. You label all your areas. This is a really good. Again, you don't have to, you don't have to have all the areas. There we go. But see how they got the tables? Like you can write down what all these things mean. It could be your puzzle area, your art area, your home corner. Label it. I don't expect you to have it all, you know, fancy, but just so I understand it, okay? So yeah, it has to be on A4. You may use the template in here. I think they actually removed it because people weren't doing it properly. So just do your drawing and submit it with your assignment. And again, so in your home corner, where you write home corner, you need to tell me, like, is that physical, social, emotional, or cognitive? In your book corner, is that physical, social, emotional, or cognitive? Your block corner, is that physical, social, emotional? Draw it on the map, like on your design as well, okay? Don't forget to have paths, boundaries, storage, your furniture. Write it all on your map. Make it very, very detailed, okay? I don't expect amazing drawings. I would just be drawing boxes and circles, you know, but just write down where things should be. Now, in your design, you have to provide a rationale for your design. Tell me why you have designed your classroom like the way you did. Have you done it for, you know, great learning areas for the children? Have you done it to create great space? I don't know. Just tell me why you've designed it the way you have. Question number 2, which you can answer in here. Explain how your design has adapted Piaget theory in selection of materials and equipment and design. You need to link it to Piaget's theory. If you don't have it linked, I'm going to fail you. It must be linked to his theory and why you've chosen the equipment and products in your classroom. What safety considerations, including, bear in mind, emotional well-being. If you don't know what emotional well-being is, you have to research it, okay? You have to know, because how can you answer the question correctly if you don't know what it means, okay? So you must include that in there. You must have, you know, an understanding of it all, okay? And why is it applied to your design? You need to tell me. How do the spaces encourage self-help skills and independence of children? Okay, again, tell me why. Applying, here we go, Vygotsky's theory. Okay, I need to know why does it link to scaffold to children's learning? You're going to have to research to know what scaffolding learning and Vygotsky's theory on scaffolding learning means to answer this question, okay? This is a big, big task, by the way, guys. It's not a 5-minute thing to do. choose a space and a layout, name the, and you've got to link it to the early years framework outcomes. So in your design, link it like, you know, what's home corner? What outcome is that linked to? What area is your book corner linked to? What area is your arts and crafts? So include links to, okay, principles, practices, and the learning outcomes, okay? So I need to see the 3, okay? So that's for that task there. Now, in research activity 4, the Science Learning Centre, you're going to be focusing on 2 age groups, okay? So you need to create a science learning activity for toddlers 2 to 3 years, or preschool 3 to 4, based on one of the following concepts. So you need to tell me straight up what age group you're doing, okay? So we're looking at things that fly. So we're exploring the wild range of bugs, birds, bats, and their other habitats. This is why you need the other textbook, okay? Because there's a whole chapter on planning, okay? And this is where you need to read it. So this is the framework for learning textbook, okay? You need to read that so you understand how to do web planning, how you need to do all these types of things. Because if you don't know, trust me, you are going to struggle so much at placement because you do so much planning. It's not funny, okay? So what you need to do is you need to look at things that fly. So we're looking at bugs, birds, bats, and their habitats. This plan exercise you're required to implement in a learning centre or experiences, okay? So planning the learning centre. So you have to link it to the early years framework. So you have to link it to the outcomes. You need to list what resources you will be using, like what materials, referencing songs. Are you going to do a craft? What activities you need? Everything that you need to know, you need to list your resources for me, okay? Explain how the learning centre will be set up. So are you going to put it on a table? Are you going to have posters? Are you going to have books? Are you going to turn your book corner all into books about bugs and things that fly? Are you going to have artificial grass? Are you going to have props? Are you going to have, I don't know, bugs, display items, whatever, okay? What words and phrases could you use and questions to ask the children about their learning? And what that means is, you know, they might say to you, you could say to them at group time, what is a bug? Name the different types of bugs. Why do they have, how many legs do they have? What do they do? That is questioning them, okay? So you can find out about what they know and extend on their learning about bugs and things that fly. Okay, so in your plan, you have to have 4 experiences, okay? So in here, this is your main plan, okay? Then in here, see where it's got experience 1, 2, 3, whoops. Oh, this is meant to be 3 and 4, okay? So up here, this is where you do your planning, okay? So learning concepts, you might pick one of these things here, okay? So it's birds, bugs, bats, etc. So what are you going to pick? I'm going to pick birds. And you might even pick one particular bird. So I'm going to pick magpies. Petrified of magpies, by the way. And remember, you have to pick your age group. So it's either 2 to 3 or 3 to 4. And I'm going to go 3 to 4 years. Okay, I'm going to put it in here. Now, I'm going to link it to the outcomes is when I'm going to do that last because I need to think of my goal. So my goal, what will my goal be? What do I want the children to learn about magpies? Okay, so it's going to be, I'm going to do about the habitat of a, oops, I spelled that wrong, but you know what I mean, of a magpie. Or you could even go, if you don't understand what a habitat means, is where do, or you could even go like, focus on what do magpies eat? You can even break it down. Or where do magpies live? Or facts about magpies. Okay, you can break it down to so many topic areas, it's not funny. Oops. Okay, my rationale to teach the children about magpies and do you know what you could do for this one here and why it's important to know about magpies in spring. Resources. I'm going to have books about magpies. I'm going to have videos. I'm going to go to a trip to the local park. I'm going to do art and craft. We might make a big magpie, like make a paper collage of a bird, magpie. So I'm going to need like paper, glue, paint, newspaper, so on. Okay, we might even do Play-Doh. We might make magpies out of Play-Doh. We might make bird's nest, and then you might need whatever you need for your bird's nest. Okay, how will these resources be set up? So I'm going to go book corner, books, all books about magpies. I'm going to put dress-ups. Bird dress-ups. Blocks. Get children to make bird nests out of the blocks. You're creating the whole classroom around your topic, by the way, guys, if that helps you. Videos at mat time on magpies. Art. So you could do an activity making a magpie. You can even do a cooking experience. Bird's nest. You can make that out of like chocolate and things like that. But you get what I mean, okay? Like I could be here all day. Tell me how you're going to set all these things up. Are you going to have it on like, so like my dress ups, they'll be in home corner. Home corner. Hanging on the clothes rack. Book corner, you might display them all in the book corner. You might put some leaves or something to make it more decorative, or even little tree things or whatever. But you get my hint, okay? Language, what questions are you gonna know about? What, like it could be like, what does a magpie look like? Why do magpies swoop you, etc. Now, if you don't know, magpies are an Australian bird. Yes, you get magpies in different countries, but in Australia, they attack you. And like, honestly, if you're not a child that hasn't been attacked by a magpie living in Australia, I don't know what's wrong, okay? Every spring, every park, everything, like even if you're going out for a walk and you're walking your dog, you're going to get attacked by a magpie. You'll see people with wearing helmets, and when they're riding their bikes, or people with sticks and big umbrellas during springtime. That is why, because the magpies attack them, okay? You'll see people wearing helmets with straws and all that stuff. Now, kids know about the magpies, especially at that age group. It's really important that we educate the kids to say, hey, you know, if you're going for a walk with mum and dad, if you're playing in the park, if you see a magpie, be careful, okay? But we should teach the children, why do they attack you? Because they're having babies. Why are they territorial? Like, teach them everything they need to know, okay? So I would have videos and things like that. Some magpies can be friendly. Some people feed them and train them. I would definitely not do that. I'm petrified of birds. But, you know, whatever. You could take them on an excursion or whatever, okay? But so then I would go through, have a look at all my activities, and then I would link it to the outcomes up here. So I don't know, it could be like linked to outcome 5, then whatever principles and practices. You need to do that based on your own activity, okay? So that is for this one here, okay? Now, experience 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So I'm going to go up here to how I would be setting up my resources and see how I've got the activities. So I'm going to say cooking a bird's nest, okay? This is going to be my experience cooking, and we're going to be making bird's nest. Dress ups, it's going to be my next one. And my, what else have I got? We might go on a walk to the local park. And then my next experience could be, I don't know, blocks. We're going to make a huge bird's nest. Okay. So there's your 4 experiences, okay? Now you're going to go into detail and tell me. So I'm going to make a bird's nest for cooking. So you know what? The first thing that I would do is I'm going to go back to my good old Pinterest, okay? So I'm going to type in here, cooking bird's nest. Now, something will come up. Ta-da! Okay. So I'm just going to randomly pick one of these. Like, there's cupcakes, there's a little bird's nest, there's heaps of things, okay? These are pretty cool, all right? I'm just going to go to, I don't know, this one here. Okay, I'm going to click on the website. And here we go. So here's all the information about how to make a bird's nest. It has all the things. I've seen different versions. They have the recipe. They have everything that you need. So I'm just going to copy that. Oh. And I'm going to go back into my thing. Okay. And description. I'm going to put it in there. Okay. And I'm going to say my teaching strategy. Okay. So I'm going to say, as a class, we are going to make bird's nests to link up to learning about magpies, as these birds make nests in trees. And then go, my teaching strategy will be a group cooking class supporting the children to bake bird's nest. Okay. Then my rationale. Why am I doing it? It's important that the children know why birds have nests, okay? Okay, so it's important that the children know why and how birds' nests are made. So you should be talking about this to the children when you're making the bird's nest. So they're getting knowledge as they're hands-on learning, physically making the bird's nest, okay? So that's my rationale why of doing this cooking demonstration. I'm not going to go through the other 4 because you kind of get what you need to do, but that's what you need to do for this activity here, okay? Then what we're going to do is our web plan. Again, there's heaps of information in your textbooks about this web planning. So this is your main web here, Things That Fly. So this is what teachers do to map out when they want to teach the children about a topic, okay? So this is used so often, this planning project ideas in every childcare centre. So for example, when I used to teach, I used to do these so much. They have a few different names: project planning, web planning, topic planning. Have a read about these planning cycles. So important that you know this, and it will save you so much time if you, this is a little tip. When I was a teacher, I would keep all my project plans, like especially if we did topics like Things That Fly, because, you know, I would be making resources for these things, and I used to keep them in a box. But I would keep my planning ideas, so because you always revisit certain topics, especially if you stay in the same age group for a few years. So this will help you cut down time, you know, planning and programming and things like that. You can use your ideas again. So things that fly. So we need to teach the children about things that can fly, okay? So what are some things that can fly? Because remember, we're going about the animals. So bats. What are we going to teach the children about bats? Okay, this is where you write it. My layout's a bit funny, but you're meant to have it like coming off. Bats. So I'm going to read them a story about bats. Songs. I will teach the children, I'm trying to think of a bird song, a bird song, okay? I'm just thinking. You might have an art activity, and you might make paper bats. You might have books on different birds that fly, okay? Or things that can fly, okay? So this is where you put all your ideas on how you're going to teach children about things that can fly. I want to see at least 12 ideas on this page, okay? Link it to your daily things. So it could be songs, books, games, dress-ups, creativity things, cooking experiences, everything you can think of in your daily teaching practices, how you can teach children about things that can fly. This is where you document it all in here, okay? I hope this has helped you. This is a huge assignment. It's a very, very important one, and I can't stress enough that, you know, that you really read those textbook chapters. And if you need support with this assignment, please book a Zoom call with me, and I'm more than happy to go over this with you, okay? But thank you for listening to this video, and I hope this helps you with your assignment.